job. I worked at an engineering firm, project manager for an engineering firm, a six-figure job, family, but I was close to death, literally, physically, emotionally. I grew up in a Christian home. We went to Pentecostal church, and we had to go to church. It wasn't an option. We listened to Unshackle, which is where I first learned about PGM. So I've listened to Unshackle since I was a kid. So I went to college, never having had a drink or smoked pot or anything like that. So I went to college and I started to experiment. Started drinking a little bit, partying, and I enjoyed the loosening, I guess, of my inhibitions when I was drinking and partying. I could interact a little bit more. Some of the guys, we would go over to their apartment after work and drink, and some of them would go into a back room, and they would come out, acting a little silly. So I wanted to be part of that little subgroup. So, what are you guys doing? So they said, you don't want any of this, man. I was like, yeah, I do. So I went and did a line of coke first time, and I liked it. And I remember being back at the bar and doing a bump in the restroom and coming out and just being the man. I got every girl's phone number in the bar. I could talk to the women. The pull of the cocaine for me was the total change in character. I was a different person. I didn't have to be shy and in my shell. I was able to keep it as a weekend extravagance for years, and I got a job and began working my way up, through the corporate ladder. But I had this double life. During the day, I'd be in the office designing pipelines for oil and gas industry out in West Texas, and then at the end of the day, I'm sitting in a crack house with bed bugs crawling all over me, no bathroom, no lights, and just, two different people. Got married, had 3 kids. I remember my third kid. My wife was in the hospital, and her blood pressure was high. She had just had a third baby, and I remember leaving multiple times to go use while she was laying there. That's how powerful the drug had become, and I lost total control at one point, and I was just totally hopeless. So February of this year, it had gotten to a crisis point. I'd lost a couple jobs and got re-employed because I was good at what I did, when I was clean. I would stay clean for a month. And I joined the NA, started going to AA meetings, CA, but it never caught. So I kind of made a deal with my sponsor, my pastor, my wife, if you go out again, you're going to have to do inpatient treatment. So September I went out again, and I sent my work an email and let them know that, I have an addiction, I'm going to treatment. My wife and I called 24 different treatment centers in Houston, and for one reason or another, God was closing all the doors. The insurance wouldn't work. It was only for 30 days or this or that. For 24 places, it wouldn't work. And my dad said, PGM. I got this place in Chicago. We used to listen to Unshackle. I said, man, I want to go to Chicago. And he'd been offering this for 7 years, So I had been using it for 20 years at that point, and I said, you know what, that's obviously where God wants me to go. There was like 4 days between when I agreed to come and when I came, and I was using every one of those days. I would leave the house, sneak out and use, and on the plane I was high coming on the plane, and I caught an Uber over here from the airport, got out. And I was so out there on the Uber ride over here, I was looking around and trying to figure out what part of town I could get back to. So within 45 minutes, I had some more on me here in Chicago. I ended up that Sunday on the west side of Chicago. It was getting dark in some house with some people I didn't know, And by the grace of God, I was able to get back here, and by the time I got here, I wanted to be here. So I walked into the day room, and felt at home. You know, Melvin prayed for me right at the intake. I felt the warmth, and after about 30 days, I really was able to surrender totally, which I've never been able to do. And it's, you know, the desire's been taken away after about 45 days. The dreams, the thoughts, the cravings, it's, you know, it's like nothing I've ever have felt in 20 years. The environment here, the word is preached daily, multiple times a day. I get to soak it up. We get to worship multiple times. Now I look forward to going to church now, which I hadn't before. The counselors here are awesome. You get a lot of guys here that have come through the program. A lot of guys here that have the experience and some of the same experiences I've had, and I can really relate to their stories. And you can listen to somebody and learn from somebody that's been there instead of a professor type that hasn't lived a life. So it was scary to surrender fully, and it came in stages for me. I had to surrender my money. So, you know, it was a tough process to just say, God, whatever you want me to do in the future with my income, it's yours. That was huge for me. My thoughts, and getting some education on spiritual warfare and you know how to fight the flesh and walk in the Spirit. You know, I've seen people in AA. I love my sponsor, but for me it just wasn't clicking. So I don't want to disparage other programs, but for me this was totally different. It made sense. It really changed something that I've been trying to change through the AA programs, you know, and it just letting him in my heart changed everything for me. If there's ever a time to let go, it's now, and I did.